Hello, my babies. I'm sorry it has been so long. I actually ran out of flour and yeast, so I couldn't make anything. Today is a very special day. We are gonna make crumpets. Crumpets are basically like an English muffin. In fact, they're the original English muffin, often eaten during tea time. This recipe is a little bit on the sweeter side, so I like to have it with maybe just some butter and jam or some chutney or cheese as a mid-afternoon snack. So, recipe time. So it's going to take about 2.5 hours of prep time. But actually this recipe makes about 20 crumpets, and to cook it takes 10 minutes. So if you start at noon, you can have crumpets at tea time, which is what I'm doing. So you need 450 grams of plain white flour, 1 teaspoon of sugar, castor sugar ideally, but any other sugar will do. 14 grams of instant yeast. If you don't have instant yeast, you actually sadly can't make this recipe. But if you live in Los Angeles and you need yeast, holler at your girl. I've got so much. We've got 350 milliliters of skim milk in the recipe, 350 milliliters of cold water, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of bicarbonate soda, which is the British way of saying just baking soda, and a little sunflower oil for the cooking. I'm gonna actually use avocado oil. You can use any kind of oil that you have on hand. Olive oil works as well. Just a lighter and high temperature cooking oil is what you're looking to get that sort of crispy, like brown crust on the crumpet. All right, so I'm gonna go get my recipe ingredients together and come right back. Okay, so I've got my 450 grams of plain white flour, which I'm just going to sift into a bowl. You can actually buy pre-sifted flour if you're doing a lot of pastry stuff. I actually just bought some because I plan on making croissants. I didn't know that was possible, but you know, if you're not interested in sifting flour, you can always obviously get the sifted flour, but it's super easy to do this. You just slowly sift it through a sieve, and then it's good to go. All right, I'm gonna throw in my 14 grams of yeast, my 1 teaspoon of castor sugar, and meanwhile, what I've got going over on my oven is I'm warming some milk. I'm actually using oat milk because we're a dairy-free household. But you can see here the milk is just sort of warming up. I don't want it to get boiling. I just want to warm it to the point where it's not fresh out of the fridge. In fact, I should be able to feel the heat a little bit, but not too much. Yeah, that's definitely warm. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the heat. Now I'm going to add this to the bowl that I have of my ingredients, along with the same amount. So 350 milliliters of milk, or oat milk if you have it, if you prefer it. And then I also have 350 milliliters of cold water, which I'm going to combine together with my little whisk here. So this is less so a dough that's going to create like a bread dough. It's definitely going to create more of like a batter. Think about pancakes. The way that you're actually going to make them is pour them into the tip of a mason jar to actually cook it on a stovetop. So you want it to be kind of mushy, which is why I'm using the whisk instead of my hands. But again, you can always use your hands. If you don't have a whisk, or if you don't have a food processor like this, it's totally fine to use your hands. So I'm just incorporating all the flour and the water and the warm milk all together, trying to get rid of the lumps. Can you see this? There we go. See how it's kind of like milky and trying to just get rid of all the little pieces. Don't want any clumps. my little chickies, this is what's gonna take the longest. So now that I've actually whisked everything together, it's now gonna have to wait for 2 hours before I cook it. So I'm gonna cover it with cling film, leave it in a place that's warm, where I would leave dough. It's already starting to smell pretty great. I think it's because there's a lot of yeast in there. But essentially, we're gonna leave it there for 2 hours, and it should actually pretty much double in size. And then we'll come back and add the bicarbonate soda and the salt, and then we will cook it on the griddle. So see you in 2 hours. Welcome back. So it's been about 2 hours. I've gone ahead and added bicarbonate, half a teaspoon of bicarbonate baking soda to the mixture, as well as my 1 teaspoon of salt. Mixed it up. And now I'm gonna take the top of a mason jar. This is what's gonna help me structure my crumpets. Also, shout out to Isabella Gambuta. Her recommendation for making the perfect patty is using the same process as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this down and put enough of the batter in there to make 1 crumpet. As it starts to bubble, I'm gonna flip it. Okay, so this is what my little crumpet looks like now that it's in the container there. I'm gonna let it cook for about 6 minutes, and then I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna wait till this surface gets set a little bit. All right, so I flipped my first crumpet. You can see that it came out from the edges a little bit. So all I have to do is just remove that to make it perfect. There you have it, folks, some good old-fashioned crumpets. Yeah.